This music video was shot on 16mm film, and you just can't replicate this look with a digital camera.
Yes, you can. Resolve. It's called film emulation.
It's not just the color, it's like the texture and the local contrast and the grain and the elation and the kind of film dent.
All of those can be done in Resolve. It's called film emulation. Just emulate all the aspects of film.
Okay, you want to prove it?
Yeah, sure. This is digital camera, and then I apply this film emulation preset on the digital camera, and it looks very similar to the 60mm film. You want me to show it how it works on the computer?
Okay, well first I'll show you how this was done, and then I'll show you how you can use it.
Can you give it out for free for our subscribers?
Okay, I'll give it out for free for people who have seen this video in the first week. Yeah, okay, let's go to the computer and let me show you this. Here I have a bunch of clips shot in different situations with different cameras. And this is how easy it is to use this preset. You just open up your gallery and then you find the preset you want to use. This is the Sweet 16, which is the film emulation I'm talking about in this video. You just drag and drop it and let it load a bit. And there you go. And you have a really nice film emulation on these clips. And it works on all of these clips straight out of the gate. Almost. There's few things you need to make sure that when you apply this that are in place. And if you then would like to have even more 16mm film look, we can add another preset called Analog Artifacts that I already tuned in for this purpose. And this is, let's open it up like this. No, not cloud. There we go. This is like when we look inside the Analog Artifact compound node, we double click it, we go inside it, and then we have different effects that we are making this look even more 16mm like. Film breath gives a bit of flicker, vignette darkens the edges a bit, scan dust gives you those white dots here and there, just like if there would be dust on your film scanner. The frame gives you this interesting frame around the image, and that makes it look like you have shot it with an actual 16mm film. Then a bit of edge blur to blur the edges for nice softness. Then the film strip makes the whole thing look like a strip of film. And the film perforations are like faking the 60mm holes that are in the film. And then if we would then go to timeline settings and change this to the correct aspect ratio of 16mm film, we get a very convincing 16mm film look. Just with these nodes, and that's how easy it is. Though there are three things that need to be in place in order for this to be so easy. First, you need to have the correct settings in DaVinci Resolve. Second, you need to color manage your clips, because for example here we had different situations, different cameras with different capture profiles, and so we need to get everything to the same starting point. And then third, we need to color correct our footage correctly in order for these to work as well as this does. Before I'll show you how to do those things, let's actually compare these clips to other popular film emulation tools that you can buy or get online. And here I have a bunch of them. Let's zoom in a bit so you can see better. So the first one is actually no emulation. So this is just Rex 109, just the plain look. So that's our kind of like the starting point. Then the second one is Filmbox Pro, and let's connect it to the signal path. There we go. And in the settings, I have selected the correct timeline, color space, and all those things that you will learn in this video. And then I have selected the Vision Tree 250D emulation, and all of the rest I will kind of left as they are in the tool, and it gives this look. And I'm not saying that I don't like the look. It's actually quite nice. It's a nice starting point. Then you would start building your look on top of this, color correcting the white balance and exposure and things like that. But it's a good starting point. Then this second one is Spectrafilm, and this is actually a quite interesting tool because it is emulating film based on different philosophy. It's emulating not really the look, but the physical behavior of film, and it's kind of trying to emulate that to get the filmic look. And again, it gives an interesting starting point. And then if we would go to the settings, we could tweak it to get a nice look. And then this is Dehancer, which was at some point was kind of like the most popular film emulation tool. And as I just forgot to say, I'm using the Vision 3 250D film emulation here because that's kind of the most popular film emulation, which I did use as a base, partly for the Sweet 16 film emulation as well. So anyway, so the Dehancer gives this kind of look, and well, it's off, the white balance is a bit off, but anyway, you can fix that and you can start working on to get a nice look. It's a nice starting point. And that's the big philosophical difference to my film emulations, which is my film emulations are not trying to be a good starting point to start your grading on top of, but they are trying to be, and I would say succeeding at, being the full look if you have your stuff color corrected, color managed, and you're doing this properly, and your settings in DaVinci Resolve are well done properly. This preset is part of my ACES Lite look library. With the workflow you learn in this video, you can apply look modification transforms to your footage, photos, or videos. These are pre-made looks that give you a professional grade, often in just one click. I wanted to give people a shortcut on how to achieve the same quality looks as I am able to create without spending a decade to learn how to color grade, as I did. You just drag and drop one of the looks from the library to the signal path and the look is done. Or you can add another look just like this, and there are over 20 looks to choose from, synthetic and real film emulation looks, and I'm adding more looks all the time that you'll get right away when they are ready. These are much more than regular LUTs or DCTLs or AI tools. These add physically accurate halation, physically accurate diffusion, realistic grain, and these work with the texture in your footage in a way you simply can with the normal LUT. And everything in this look is parametric, so you can dive inside the look node and get access to all of the sub-elements, and all made with native tools. You can easily adjust the size of or strength of the halation effect, or edit the diffusion nodes, change the type of film grain. You can add your own modifications or even mix and match looks together. There is a toning presets included in the library as well that allow you to give extra cinematic color on top of your looks. And for those of you who are not really big fans of film emulations, I recently added new clean looks as well that work well with corporate and commercial stuff. When you get my ACES Lite look library, you get clear and straight to the point tutorials on how to use these looks, and you'll learn this workflow easily. The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. These are comments from my YouTube videos where people just spontaneously gave praise for the look library, and these are emails from my students. I didn't even ask for any feedback, and actually I reply to questions about the product and reply to people when they need help with their grading. To learn more about my look library and support me making these tutorials, check out the link in the description and in the end of the video. Now let's jump to the computer and I'll show how to use this 16mm film emulation for real in DaVinci Resolve. Now I will show you how to get these presets to work for your footage as well. And remember, if you're watching this video in the first week, you're lucky because you will get the Sweet 16 film emulation for free if you just go to the link in the description, and all of the rest of the presets as well are there for you, even if you are late from the first week. Okay, so to get these to work with your camera and your capture profile and your footage, first things first, you need to have the correct settings in DaVinci Resolve. And what does that mean? Well, in our DaVinci Resolve menu in the preferences and in general, use Mac display color profiles for viewers, click that on, and then if you're on Windows, there's a similar one, choose that. And for this workflow, you can have this on or off, it doesn't really matter for this. So just save, and it will take, you need to restart DaVinci Resolve for it to take place, and then you have done it. Then the second thing you need to do is go to the gear icon and go to color management, and here, but actually this is actually quite good that this came up. Any modifications done here will not impact the currently loaded timeline as they are being overridden by timeline settings. That just means that on my timeline, which is this, that we changed the aspect ratio and stuff, we need to go to that individual timeline and into that individual timeline settings, and here in the we're normally here, and we go to the color tab, and because we have unchecked this, it's not using the project settings, but it's this, we uncheck this. So now we need to select the correct ones for this individual timeline. And for the color science, use DaVinci YRGB non-color managed. This does work with the ACES CCT. It's slightly different, but it still works with that as well. But with this, we can do our own color management. It's not complicated, and I prefer to do my own color management. Then timeline color space, select ACES CCT, as these are ACES-based presets. So this will tell DaVinci Resolve that we are using ACES color space to do these presets and stuff like that. And then for our output color space, if you're exporting for general purposes, offline use, I would recommend using Rexonon 9 Gamma 2.4. But if you're uploading to YouTube or Instagram or online in general, for Mac, use Rexonon 9A, and for Windows, use sRGB. And if you disagree and you want to know why I use these settings, go to my channel and find a video called Rexonon 9 Gamma 2.4 is wrong. And there's, by the way, typo in the thumbnail, so you'll find it like that as well. Go and watch that video and you know why I'm using these settings. Anyway, so now let's just choose Gamma 2.4 for this, because let's say that we are uploading to general purposes, not online. Okay, and press OK. So those are the correct settings. Now let's start doing our own color management. And for our color management, we basically need one in node. So we get our capture profile into our working color space. And then, oh wait, there we go. And then we need one output node. So this is where we take our capture footage, transform our capture footage into our working color space. And here we go out into our deliver color space. And the effect that we use to get in and out of our working color space is the color space transform. And here you choose the color space that your camera is using and you're using in your camera. And in this case, it's Panasonic V-Gamut and V-Log. And then we are going into our timeline color space, which is ACES CCT, the color space that we set up in our settings, this one. And then the output thing, the output node, we add the same tool and we go out of our timeline color space, which is our working color space. We go into our delivery color space. And in this hypothetical situation, we are uploading to general offline purposes. So then we add the Rexonon 9 Gamma 2.4 there. And now these two nodes take our footage from our capture profile into our delivered profile. Here we go into our working color space. Here we go out of our working color space. And then we add one of these presets, these look modification transforms that just work now that our color management is done. We just drag and drop it to the signal path. So by the way, if you didn't notice, if I drag and drop and I just add it until there's this plus icon, then I drag it, it will not replace the whole nodes. It will just add this one node there. And then it already kind of looks good, but the exposure and white balance is slightly off. So then I'm going to add one more node before the look, and let's call it color correction node. And in the color correction node, when we have our color management done properly, we go to the HDR wheel, the HDR tools, and the global wheel is color space aware tool. So now these, the exposure and the white balance sliders work almost like raw accuracy, at least enough if your color white balance is somewhat correct when you shot it. Actually, it can be quite off as well and still works. So here I would maybe bring the exposure down half a stop, and then I might warm it up slightly to give it like a bit warmer look. And then on top of the global wheel, you can of course balance and color correct your footage in many ways. For example, adding a contrast or I don't know, just whatever you do to your footage. And you can always take a look inside the compound node, the preset itself, because it's a bunch of nodes stacked together into a compound node. And in here, you can turn off and on different elements. For example, this is the optical emulation group inside the group. And we have a diffusion and smoke filter effects there. Then we have the halation, that gives the classic film emulation to edges. And you can go inside it and you can choose a different size for the halation. In the compression, it gives this film compression to the image. In the grain, you can choose what kind of grain this gives. For example, this is 60mm grain. It's quite soft and the image goes soft. you can, for example, choose the 65mm grain, and then you get the original kind of sharpness to the image. Or if you're going to go even softer, you can go to the 8mm grain, and it really gives a really soft, like, I don't know, very small format grain to the image. And then here is actually this yellow and blue toning presets as well. If you turn them off, you get a more neutral image, and then you can like turn them on to get that bit of a warm toning to the image. And all of them are inside this node. You can just modify all of these, all of made with a native tool. So it's all, the power is in your hands to able to modify and edit the look as much as you want. And then when you get my ACES Lite look library, you can use these other, other effects as well. For example, the noir contrast is a really nice black and white film emulation that gives you really that crunchy texture to your images. They are whatever, what else could I show you? And then actually, let's actually show the toning things as well. So here, if I add a split tone effect after the look modification transform, and let's let it load, it will give the split tone effect, and then I'll of course go to the effect and put it to half if I don't want it to be that strong, and so forth, like that. That's how these presets look. You have your correct settings, you have your color management done, you have your color grading, settings, color management, color correction done, and then you can drag and drop these pieces like Legos to your signal path. And then this in the beginning I showed there was this one analog artifacts tool as well, and you just drag and drop that before the local this look modification transform, yes. And when you go inside it, then we can choose and turn on all of these different effects that we had. Chromatic aberration is nice, chromatic aberration is nice, lens reflections maybe not, maybe let's add the frame and let's add the perforations and the gate width and so on and so forth. So that's how these work, and they're really easy. And if you're lucky, you can get this preset for free in the link in the description. And again, here's two examples: real 60mm film and then a digital camera with this emulation.
Well, I kind of like the real one better. It looks more real to my eye.
Well, actually, I kind of cheated because both of these are emulations. None of them are real. So if you think you can spot the difference, go and download this film emulation and take a look at it yourself. And then you maybe have some authority to say if it doesn't quite look like real 60mm film. You can download it in the description. There's a link and probably floating around me somewhere here as well. So thank you, and see you in the next video.